We had 5 presentations here. I'm convinced that in the room there are responsibles from employment public services who have maybe concrete examples as those who have been presented here. So maybe it would be interesting from them to present us those examples quickly in 2 or 3 minutes. First, I will give the floor to the responsibles from public services of employment who have concrete examples to present us. We have our friend from Senegal, from DRC. So I will leave the floor very quickly to our friend from Senegal. Thank you, Mr. the moderator. Experiences. The first concerns what we call in Senegal the national conventions state employers, which is a device of partnership between the private sector and the state, looking towards the promotion of training offers for job seekers. The idea is to give to the bosses financial resources that can allow them to pay the trainees, because in front of the argument saying that trainings are expensive, the state has decided to give resources to trainees. It allows to have a shared financing, because it may happen that the bosses pay 50% and the state pays 50%, or yeah, it is a system that allowed to recruit many young people. The second experience quickly is what is called the private partnership for the employment of the youth. It is a mechanism that brought us to go and meet the private sector and to tell them that the youth employment is not only the question, an issue for the state. Enterprises must accept to sign conventions, to accept to offer training periods without considering the convention. Let me give you 2 examples. The Orange agency accepted to put 100 million francs each year in order to take in charge the trainees, in order to offer them internet connections. So I'll take our partner as the company of water. I could have given you many examples because we have a lot. Last example, if you allow, we will go toward what we call national platform for the actors for the promotion of employment, that will bring together the agency for the employment of the youth, technical and financial partners, technical ministries that develop employment activities, NGOs, in order to have a dialogue framework, in order to have a better harmony and to mutualize resources and intervention. So these are briefly said some experiences that we are developing in Senegal. Thank you. Thank you. We have Mrs. Kikuji from DRC. Thank you, Sir Moderator. Won't be long. The National Office for Employment in DRC started with nearly no means. The state has put in place an institution. It just provided infrastructures, and that's all. Apart from the salary of the workers, so we had to start with a partnership, because the law authorized it to us with the private agencies of placement. All the job seekers are registered at our place. We know them, and then as of there, they can choose the private placement agency, thanks to which they can be placed in the enterprise. Private agencies are paid for that service, but these agencies are obliged to make us a report each 3 months in order to know if they have done placements, if they had contract signed by job seekers. But as of a certain time, with the help of the DAB, we had a financing for the professional training period where job seekers can be placed in companies. It is an insertion training. They are put in a company for 6 months. They take profit of a scholarship from the DBA. It is money given to the government, but we called once again these private agencies because us alone we have difficulties to reach all the enterprises. There are mobility issues. There are human resources issues as well. So it is once again these agencies that help us, and we explain them that they are, helpers to service public services that we are. They are helping us on the authorization of the government. So we help them to take some trainees. They go through the test of they go through screening, and then they place them in companies, and we can monitor them. It is an example of partnership that is working. At the beginning it was frightening everybody. People were saying they are going to get the service of employment drone, but we said no, we just only had to have regular and drastic control in order not to disappear, and this is what happened. Thank you. Central African Republic. Thank you, Mr. the moderator. I think that I am representing here the Republic of Central Africa. At the local level, we have some practices of local partnership, but following the different presentations, I am convinced that the partnerships are very important in the development of our public services, and that the lateral partnership must be a basis for the development of local partnership. Why am I saying that? Because I watched the film produced by Mrs. Gillen, and I saw that in a partnership, the German corporation supported the Togolese National Employment Services in the exercise of their activities. And secondly, of course, obviously, we are doing the same things. The employment services are doing the same things, but apparently it is the means that are a little different. In Central Africa, with the partnerships that we have, and the partnership with the French embassy, with other African structures, the Public Employment Services of Central Africa was able to put in place a project, Enterprise Space. That project will, as of now, mobilize the job seekers or the promoters, the trainees, in order to support them in the implementation of their business plan. Which is important. What is important for our employment service is that through our own means we are able to construct a big building. We constructed a big building that was recently inaugurated by His Excellency Mr. the Ambassador of France just before he left, and it is this building that constitutes the basis of the partnership that we elaborated with microfinance establishments. They are microfinance institutions, and they are playing an important role. Job seekers or project promoters who are setting their business plan that are bankable can directly talk to these institutions that are supporting them, and the monitoring is made by the agents from these two microfinance agencies. Now, the level of enterprises, we have that program that we call professional insertion contracts. We have this partnership with the enterprises. We place young people in insertion training periods for 6 months, and during these 6 months it is the National Employment Service that finance the enterprise do the recruitment during that period, and it constitutes a partnership. There are as well other fields where we have partnerships. For instance, with institutions of vocational training, um, and they can support to the training for the youth. And this is developed. So we implemented this program that started not a long ago. And earlier, when I watched the presentation made by Mr. Christophe Mambo from Cameroon, I wanted to ask a question directly to Mr. Christophe. Well,
Is young, a job seeker who does not find job is vulnerable to delinquency and criminal organizations. So the problem of employment is insolvable and harms the African generation. The African young people are disoriented The problematic of employment is in fact a bomb, a delaying bomb. And I think that it is very important to disconnect this bomb before it explodes. So the public employment services in Africa, I'm asking AMSEP, the African Association, to make an emergency workshop or forum with the support of international sponsors so as to find emergency programs so as to disconnect this problem of unemployment, because we are passing through a very difficult moment generated with the problem of economy, of young people, and young generation is going to the hell. So this is an occasion for me to ask AMSEP to find a very core program, and I follow with attention the presentation of Turkey, finalized by the one of Quebec, and I was impressed because the African youth is very strict. So the employment services should evolve in accordance with the time. What is done is very urgent. So it is time to think with the experiences of some countries that have already settled their problems so as to face these problems, which is employment problem. All the African problems, all the African governments focus on the problem of employment, and this is a very major problem. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like that the intervention stay on the topic of the workshop of this morning, whether it's National Employment Services presenting us the concrete examples of what they achieved in their countries, or concrete questions asked to panelists. So if there are colleagues here who have interesting topics for our next topics, I think that they can write to the General Secretary of the ASEP in order to think of these topics and put them in the agenda for our next meetings. It is 5:51. We still have 10 minutes, so I can take one or two questions again. Yes? My name is Mesmer Fayhou. I am at the National Employment Service of Benin. In the framework of the local partnership, we signed conventions with a district in Benin. In Benin, we have 77 districts, and most of them have issues related to HR in their administrations. So the National Employment Service has a convention with those 77 districts, and we put at their disposal each year a trainee, and at the end of the training course, the national agency has to recruit the trainee. So today we have trainees that the agency put at the disposal of these districts. So this is an example that I would like to bring. Thank you. Last intervention. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I thank all the panelists, and I thank the Republic of Togo for the choice of the topic, because how are we going to promote employment beyond the partnership? Because this issue is a question that brings together many sectors, so we don't have other choice but solve this question through the actors of the partnership. So in Mali, we have more more than 20 experiences of partnerships, but it would be tedious to list them. But I wanted to have the floor because today one of the most important aspects will be the one of the promotion of self-employment, and at this level the most crucial issue would certainly be the issue of guarantee. In Mali, when effectively there was that issue of the youth employment, I faced an issue of guarantee because they had nothing, and the banks were saying at the time these were high risk issues, and at the time our banks were structured in a such way that that target group could not benefit from the financing. And in Mali, as of the 1990s, we initiated an experience. The National Office of Manpower at the time, the National Office of Insurance, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Mali, we set a fund that we called Auto Renewable Fund, under the shape of an association that would intervene to guarantee the project of the young graduated people. And this project intervenes in the device to provide collateral to the young people. And we said these cannot take into account all the high scope projects for the consolidation of some enterprises who wanted to advance. So recently we were brought to put a fund to provide guarantee for the private sector up to 250 million francs. We don't have the choice but developing our partnerships. Thank you.
Excellent. Dernière question ou intervention. Alors pour la méthode, moi je remercie
Let me thank the panelists of this second roundtable. Let me give the floor to Mr. Mbam. Thank you. Thank you to my counterpart from Central Republic who wanted to know how was the transition made for the person who opted for self-employment. At the beginning, when the young people are retained, there is what we call the phase of education. We bring them together, we provide them advices because it is a quite tough youth. So we provide them enough advice on how they should behave during the program. And then we also tell them that there are three possibilities at the end of the program: whether they have to set up their own business, in which case they will have to spare their revenue, and at the end of the program what they would have spared will be multiplied by two in order to allow them to set up their own business. So it is in for that purpose that they are trained on techniques for independent job research. So we tell them how they can set up a business plan, how they can manage a very small business, because this it starts as one person business, and they are well informed, and they tell them that they also have the possibility to go through a qualifying training. We also tell them that they have the possibility to install themselves in waged employment. So when the program reaches its end, after the 6 months, we take again all the people who choose self-employment. We discuss with them. We take them through a professional interview, and we do the diagnosis once again in order to know what are their aspirations, what kind of business they would like to start. And when they put themselves on a precise business, we set up a business, a light business plan, and there are the other conditions, the collateral, the insurance, and it is financed, it is installed, and it is monitored. That is it. Thank you. Mrs. Vaillant, I wanted to answer to the concern on how to fix emergently the issue of employment in Africa. Maybe it hasn't been clearly shown in the film. In Africa, the problematic is the waged salary. There are not enough waged employment in the countries, so the solution is self-employment. And as you noticed, in all the experiences, in all the demonstrations in countries, whether it is Turkey, Quebec, Morocco, or Ivory Coast, there is self-employment, entrepreneurship. So the suggestion is that the role of the WhatsApp is to share the know-hows, to share the programs, to share the successes, to share the observations. What we are proposing you is to put at your disposal all the tools, all the methods, anything that is experience, because I am looking for, and I asked my Turkish counterpart, what did you put in place as tool? And I also asked all the people here, because what we need is the solution in order to stop young people going towards long training courses, bringing them to unemployment. So bring them to discover short trainings, bring them to discover agriculture and all these development bearing programs. So there are tools that were created by Togolese for Togo. They will evolve. This is one of the things we will do. It is to share all the wealth and to capitalize all the experiences. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I will ask you to applause for our panelists.